All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru Venkatanga. Hare Lord Singh Ki, Bhagwan Maharaj Ki.
Marked in here, free growth material nature, that's number 8.
Yep.
Chapter 14.
Okay, just making sure. Okay. Introduction, prayer. Introduction prayer, page 1. Om Ganjana Tramandasya Gyana Jnana Shalakya Shaksamita Nina Tasme Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Monobishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Darati Swapatatikam. I was born in the darkest ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. Offer my respectful obeisances unto him. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who is established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavascha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathavitam Sata Sajivam Savetam Sadhutam Pariyajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Saha Ganalita Shri Vishkanapitamscha. Offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. Offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanata Goswami, as well as Raghunath Das and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopala Bhatta, and Srila Jiva Goswami. Offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Vaidya Acharya, Gadhar, Srivasa, and other associates. Offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates, Sri Lalita and Vishaka. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dino Bando Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute. Oh, my dear Krishna, you are the friend of the distress and the source of creation. You are the master of the gopis and lover of Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapa Kanchana Gorangi Rade Vindas Vesvare Vespanu Sute Deve Pramamare Hare Priye. Offer my respects to Radharani, whose body complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavan. You are the daughter of the king Vishbanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Pancha Kapa Tutparayascha Kripa Sindhubhaya Evascha Patitanam Pavadvayo Vaishnavayo Namo Namaha. Offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Veta Gadhar, Shri Vasta Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Offer my obeisances to Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Veta Gadhar, Shri Vasa, and all others in line of devotion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we're on chapter 14, the three modes of material nature. This one I have it marked at text 5. Is that? $15? So we just start chapter 15? Yoga of the Supreme Person. Okay, I remember this now. We got to talking about the real form of the tree cannot be perceived in this world, and where it begins. So I think we actually are starting on text 5 today, because I remember talking about the tree. Huh? Text 2? We did text 2. Okay, we'll do text 3. We'll start at text 3 and 4 today. Na rupam ashaya tatha opalapayate nato na chadir nacha sampradadatishta ashvataham inam suvitrudaham mulam asanga sastrena trinida chitva tata param tat parinama Margita Vanyam Yasmin Gata Na Nivatanti Buddha Tameva Chadyam Purusham Prayate Yatta Parviti Purishta Purani. Whew, that's a tough one. Translation. The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this tree with the weapon of detachment. So doing, one must seek the place from which, having once gone, one never returns, and there surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything has begun, and in whom everything is abiding since time immemorial. Text 5. Nirmana moha citta sangadosha ariyatma nitya vinyat vicha kama jirvanta ver vinmukta sukha dukkha samgyar gachatinanti amuda param avyanyam tat. Translation. One who is free from illusion, false prestige, and false association, who understands the eternal, who is done with material lust, and is freed from this duality of happiness and distress, and who knows how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attains to that eternal kingdom. Text 6. Nata bayasyate shruvyo, na sanshanko na pavaka, yadgatva na nirvatante, tadama paramamama. Translation. That abode of mind is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by electricity. One who reaches it never returns to this world. Text 7. Mameva mashuv jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana, mana sathinatni drayayani, prakriti shathani karasati. Translation. The living entities in this conditioned world are my internal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which includes the mind. Oh, let me see here. Text 8. Sariram yad avyapnoti, yatshapi ukramatisvara, kritivatinati samyati, vayurganda ivasyata. Translation. A living entity in this material world carries its different conceptions from life from one body to another as the air carries aromas. Text 9. Shrotram chakshu sparasnancha rasanam karantnam ivacha adhishtaya manaschayam vishyaya upashiveti. Translation. The living entity thus taking another gross body obtains a certain type of ear, tongue, and nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. Text 10. Ukraramandatam shititam vapi, pujanam va gunavetam, vimuda nanu pashyanti gyana shakshusha. Translation. The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. Text 11. Yatan yato yoginas chenam pashyanti atmani afashtitam yatanto api artatmano naninam pashyanti achitasha. Translation. The endeavoring transcendentalist who is situated in self-realization can see all this clearly, but those who are not situated in self-realization cannot see what is taking place, though they may try. Text 12. Yadat yat adyat gatman tejo jagapashyate kiliyam yach chandramashicha yach chagno tattejo dvidi mamakam. Translation. The splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of this whole world, comes from me, and the splendor of the moon and the splendor of the fire are also from me. Final text is today's text 13. Gamasvya cha bhutani dareme aham ojasa pushami chashari sava samobhutva rasa mukha. Translation, I enter into each planet, and by my energy they stay in orbit. I become the moon, and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables. Returning to text 2. Text 2, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The branches of this tree extend downward and upward, nourished by the three modes of material nature. The twigs are the objects of senses. This tree also has roots going down, and they are bound to the fruitive actions of human society. Purport. The descriptions of the banyan tree is further explained here. Its branches are spread in all directions. In the lower parts, there are variegated manifestations of living entities, such as human beings, animals, horses, cows, dogs, cats, etc. These are situated on the lower parts of the branches, where on the upper parts are higher forms of living entities, the demigods, Gandharvas, fairies, and many other higher species of life. As a tree is nourished by water, so this tree is nourished by the three modes of material nature. Sometimes we find that a tract of land is barren for want of sufficient water, and sometimes the tract is very green. Similarly, where the modes of material nature are proportionally greater in quantity, the different species of life are manifested in that proportion. The twigs of the tree are considered to be the sense objects. By development of the different modes of nature, we develop different senses. By the different senses, we enjoy different varieties of sense objects. The source of the senses, the ears, the nose, eyes, etc., is considered to be the upper twigs, turned to the enjoyment of different sense objects. Leaves are sound, form, touch, and sense objects. The roots, which are subsidiary, are the byproducts of different varieties of suffering and sense enjoyment. Thus, we develop attachment and aversion. The tendency toward piety and impiety are considered to be the secondary roots, spreading in all directions. The real root is from Brahmaloka, and the other roots are in the human planetary system. After one enjoys the results of virtuous activities in the upper planetary system, he comes down to this earth and renews his karma of fruitive activities for promotion. This planet of human beings is considered the field of activities. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Yeah, this banyan tree. We're trying to escape this material world. This material world has all kinds of, branches and, leaves and twigs and whatnot. Just all kinds of things to this material world. There's so many of us that, so many people in this world, they're not ready to surrender. They're not ready to, think about, what's going to happen after I die. We have so many jivas, so many souls that are just caught up in this dream, this world of sense gratification. The problem is, this sense gratification is this separation from Krishna, which causes suffering. So we can try to enjoy our senses as much as we possibly can, but there's always going to be this emptiness. This emptiness that we cannot fill, because we're trying to enjoy separately from Krishna. Those who try to enjoy it in the mode of goodness. Go out there and, enjoy life in the mode of goodness. They can be elevated to higher planetary systems by doing, missionary work, humanitarian work, work in the mode of goodness, putting others before oneself. One can find fulfillment, a little bit of fulfillment in that. But that gets you up to the higher planetary system, where you get great sense enjoyment, long lifespan, great intelligence. But eventually, that your reward is used up. You got to come back down this material world again. And there are those that get trapped in ignorance, that fall down into the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, the insect kingdom. 8 million forms of life that we're being recycled into over and over and over again because we misuse the human body. So in today's world, it's very hard to find people who are sincere about wanting to escape this material world. Many are comfortable with their suffering. Many are comfortable with, chasing after their moments of happiness, followed by suffering. I kind of like to look at it in a way when I was raising pets. When I had a cat and a dog. My dog, would go find the cat litter and start eating the cat poop out of the cat litter. He enjoyed it. He liked it. He loved it. It's like, no, don't do that. That's nasty. Spit it out. But to the dog, that tasted good to him. I don't know why, but it tasted good to the dog. Very much so in this, this material world. There are so many people I want to say, no, spit that hamburger out. That's nasty, disgusting. But they are going to enjoy it. Because that's what they're attuned to. They don't know better. That's where it's very important with Maha Mantra. We're trying to wake up the God consciousness within everyone. Wake people up. Help them strive to get out of this dream, this material world. Because at the end of the day, it's just an illusion. All these things that we have, all this world that we have, it's all an illusion. Gwanditai Ki Jai. Whereas we have trying to fulfill our material senses, trying to enjoy our material senses, we're getting nectar up front. But in the end, it's poison. in so many ways. You can only enjoy your favorite movie so many times before it becomes a dull movie. You can only enjoy a favorite activity for so long. You can only enjoy your favorite food so many times, you know. You should take your favorite food and end up having it for the rest of your life, and it ends up becoming a poison. You end up hating it because the enjoyment is sapped out of it. So this moments of happiness, this moments of pleasure, it's a fleeting moment in time that everyone is chasing. Everyone has been conditioned to chase, and we've been chasing this for millions of lifetimes. And so, as like I say, as with the dog that's eating the cat litter, you know, the cat poop out of the cat litter, enjoying it. Because that's what it enjoys to do. Doesn't know any better. Hasn't had the Maha Mantra to wake it up. And that's why I have to look at people as, you know, it's like much as the way I looked at my dog. With compassion, knowing that I can't beat it out of them. Yeah, here, take Krishna. You know, you need this. I can't take a stick and, you know, beat people with it. And I'll become a very cruel person trying to beat Krishna into people. But with going out on Harinam, book distribution, using the power of our association with others is what's going to help bring other jivas out of this dream. Help them wake up. Text 3 and 4. Translation: the real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this tree with the weapon of detachment. So doing, one must seek that place from which, having once gone, one never returns, and there surrender to that Supreme Personality Godhead, from whom everything has begun and whom everything is abiding since time immemorial. Purport: it is now clearly stated that the real form of the banyan tree cannot be understood in this material world. Since the root is upwards, the extension of the real tree is that at the other end. No one can see how far the tree extends, nor can one see the beginning of this tree. Yet one has to find out the cause. I am the son of my father. My father is the son of such and such person, etc. By searching this way, one comes to Brahma, who is generated by the Kapadashi Vishnu. Finally, in this way, when one reaches to the Supreme Personality Godhead, that is the end of the research work. One has to search out the origin of this tree, the Supreme Personality Godhead, through the association of persons who are in the knowledge of the Supreme Personality Godhead. Then by understanding, one becomes gradually detached from this false reflections of reality. And by knowledge, one can cut off the connection and actually become situated in the real tree. The word of Sangha is very important. Is this connection because the attachment for sense enjoyment and lording it over material nature is very strong. Therefore, one must learn detachment by discussion of spiritual science based on authoritative scriptures. One must hear from persons who are actually in knowledge. As a result of discussions and the association of devotees, one comes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the first thing one must do is surrender to him. The description of that place whence going no one returns to this false reflection tree is given here. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is original root from whom everything is emanated. To gain favor of that personality of Godhead, one has to only surrender, and this is the result of performing devotional service by hearing, chanting, and etc. He is the cause of the extension of this material world. This is already explained by the Lord himself. Aham sarvasya prabhavaya. I am the origin of everything. Therefore, to get out of the entanglement of this strong banyan tree of material life, one must surrender to Krishna. And as soon as one surrenders unto Krishna, he becomes detached automatically from this material extension. And that's the thing. We need the association of the devotees. That's why our association is so important. That's why our association going out and, trying to help wake others up is important. Because this is not meant to be done alone. You go look, read the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Bhagavad Gita. None of these acharyas did these things alone. It took the mercy of a spiritual master. It took the mercy of a pure devotee. It took the mercy of the association of the devotees. And that is where our real superpower is. It's through our association. When we focus in on ourselves and do everything in our power to keep our sadhana strong, to follow the instructions of the spiritual master, we can grow our bhakti. And we actually empower, through our association, each other. Text 5. One who is free from illusion, false prestige, and false association, who understands the eternal, who is done with material lust and is freed from the duality of happiness and distress, and who knows how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attains to that eternal kingdom. Report. The surrendering process is described here very nicely. The first qualification is that one should not be deluded by pride, because the conditioned soul is puffed up, thinking himself the lord of material nature. It is very difficult for him to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should know by the cultivation of real knowledge that he is not lord of material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Lord. When one is free from delusion caused by pride, he can begin the process of surrender. For one who is always expecting some honor in this material world, it is not possible to surrender to the Supreme Person. Pride is due to delusion. For although one comes here, stays for a brief time, and then goes away, he has the foolish notion that he is the Lord of this world. He thus makes all things complicated, and he is always in trouble. The whole world moves under this impression. People are considering that the land, this earth, belongs to human society, and they have divided the land under the false impression that they are the proprietors. One has to get out of this false notion that human society is proprietor of this world. When one is freed from such a false notion, he becomes free from all the false association caused by familiar, social, and national affections. These fake associations bind one to this material world. After this stage, one has to develop spiritual knowledge. One has to cultivate knowledge of what is actually his own and what is actually not his own. And when one has an understanding of these things as they are, he becomes free from all dual conceptions, such as happiness and distress, pleasure and pain. He becomes full in knowledge, and it becomes possible for him to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's the thing. It's this surrendering. One has to come to this point of realizing that it's all these material things. It's just an illusion. It's just dust. There's nothing there. We can try to go after these things and try to enjoy our senses. But in the end, it's always going to leave us empty. I always like to bring up examples of famous people. People who've, had that immense amount of wealth, name, fame, and prestige. But they themselves could not find happiness. They themselves, it wasn't enough for them. And personalities like Robin Williams. He's a great actor, great comedian. Did a lot of voices, for cartoons and whatnot. Top of his field. And for acting and comedy work. He had name, wealth, fame, prestige. He had it all. But in that, he was a person that was fighting his own demons. He was fighting cocaine addiction, alcoholism, went to rehab. And in the end, even though he was well respected in Hollywood, brought joy to millions of people, he could not find his own happiness. He took his own life in the end. Just have to, sit back and think. Because there's so many of these great personalities that are out there that, like I said, have the name, fame, prestige, wealth, had it all. They could not find happiness. It wasn't enough. What chance do we have? What chance do we have to find the same thing if they couldn't find it? Krishna consciousness, bhakti yoga is where it's at. It's the only way. All other pathways, all other is just an illusion. Text 6. That abode of mind is not illumined by the sun or moon, or by electricity. One who reaches it never returns to this material world. Report. The spiritual world, the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, which is known as Krishna Loka, Goloka, Vrindavan, is described here. In the spiritual sky, there is no need of sunshine, moonshine, fire, or electricity, because all the planets are self-luminous. We have only one planet in this universe, the sun, which is self-luminous, but all the planets in the spiritual sky are self-luminous. The shining effulgence of all those planets, called Vaikunthas, constitutes the shining sky known as the Brahmayoti. Actually, the effulgence is emanating from the planet of Krishna Goloka and Vrindavan. Part of that shining effulgence is covered by the Mahatattva, material world. Other than this, the major portion of that shiny sky is full of spiritual planets, which are called Vaikunthas, chief of which is Goloka and Vrindavan. As long as the living entity is in this dark material world, he is in conditional life. But as soon as he reaches the spiritual sky by cutting through the false, perverted tree of this material world, he becomes liberated. Then there is no chance of his coming back here. In his conditional life, the living entity considers himself to be the Lord of this material world. But in his liberated state, he enters into the spiritual kingdom, becomes the associate of the Supreme Lord. There he enjoys eternal bliss, eternal life, and full of knowledge. One should be captivated by this information. He should desire to transfer himself to that internal world and extricate himself from the false reflection of reality. One who is too much attached to this material world is very difficult to cut that attachment. But if he takes to Krishna consciousness, there's a chance of gradually becoming detached. One has to associate himself with devotees, those who are in Krishna consciousness. One should search out a society dedicated to Krishna consciousness and learn how to discharge devotional service. In this way, he can cut off his attachment to the material world. One cannot become detached from the attraction of the material world simply by dressing himself in saffron cloth. He must become attached to the devotional service of the Lord. Therefore, one should take it very seriously that devotional service, as described in the 12th chapter, is the only way to get out of this false representation of the real tree. Chapter 14, the contamination of all kinds of processes by material nature is described. Only devotional service is described as purely transcendental. The words paramam mama are very important here. Actually, every nook and corner is a property of the Supreme Lord. But the spiritual world is paramam, full of six opulences. In the Upanishads, is also confirmed that in the spiritual world there is no need of sunshine or moonshine. The whole spiritual sky is illuminated by internal potency of the Supreme Lord. That supreme abode can be achieved only by surrender and by no other means. Any questions or comments? Text 7. The living entities in this conditioned world are my internal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. Purport. In this verse, the identity of the living being is clearly given. The living entity is a fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Eternally, it is not that he assumes individuality in his conditioned life, and his liberated state becomes one with the Supreme Lord. He is eternally fragmented. It is clearly said, Sanata, according to the Vedic version, the Supreme Lord manifests and expands himself in innumerable expansions, of which the primary expansions are called Vishnu Tattva. The secondary expansions are called the living entities. In other words, the Vishnu Tattva is the personal expansion, and the living entities are separated expansions. By his personal expansion, he is manifested in various forms like Lord Rama, Nrsimhadev, Vishnumurti, and all the predominating deities in the Vaikuntha planets. These separated expansions, living entities, are eternally servitors. The personal expansions of the Supreme Personality Godhead, the individual identities of Godhead, are always present. Similarly, the separated expansions of living entities have their identities. As fragmental parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, the living entities Sorry, I just lost my place. Are always present. Similarly, as separated expansion of the living entities have their identities. As fragmental parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, the living entities have also fragmental qualities, of which independence is one. Every living entity has an individual soul, his personal individuality, and a minute form of independence. By misuse of that independence, one becomes conditioned soul, and by proper use of independence, he is always liberated. In either case, he is qualitatively eternal, as the Supreme Lord is. In his liberated state, he is freed from this material condition, and he is under the engagement of transcendental service unto the Lord. In his conditioned life, he is dominated by material modes of nature, and he forgets the transcendental loving service of the Lord. As a result, he has to struggle very hard to maintain his existence in the material world. Any last minute questions or comments? Bhagavad Gita